our guest. All right, everyone in the background, are you going to come inside or are you going to stay in the background? Bernie, you're going to stay back there? You guys are all going to stay back there? Okay, everybody out in the courtyard, are you coming in? No, you're staying out there? Okay. I see you. I'm going to keep an eye on you out there. Well, I'm going to officially say good evening. It's great to be here with all of you in person. I want to do a couple of things before we dive right into the program. One, we're starting a few minutes early because we want to make sure that we get through the 2.5 hours of speeches. Thanks, Dave Pine. I know you're going to be at least 45 minutes. Oh, no, wait, Don Horsley might be. Yeah. No, people did get worried when they found out that I was the MC. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Danny Gasparini. My most proudful moment was I was an inductee in 2004. So to the honorees, I congratulate you for receiving this wonderful honor. It was a night that I'll never forget as well, and welcome to the family. They'll tell you about the dinner you have to host and all of that after. No, just kidding. I am a former mayor of the city of Redwood City. I understand we couldn't do this event in Redwood City because they wouldn't let us. No, I'm just kidding. I have no pull anymore. But I'm here for two reasons. One, I told you already that I was so proud to be an inductee in 2004. But for those of you that know, Tuesday night is half-off pizza night, and I really don't like pizzas, so I'm here. I get to be with all of you. So those of you that don't know me, it's going to be a night like this. But anyway, I'm here to tell you, I'm supposed to tell you a bit about myself, but I think I look into the room and I really recognize most of you, so I don't need to spend any time telling you about myself. If I haven't met you, we'll grab a drink after the event and we'll get to know each other really well. All right, so I'm here to tell you that this is a live event at Devil's Canyon. Look to your right, look to your left, give somebody a fist pump, an elbow bump. We're here in person. Isn't that awesome? I'm so excited. And don't worry, this isn't going to be a COVID event. You'll learn a little bit later on that Supervisor Dave Pine is Mr. Climate Guy. He brought the wind so that all of anything might be spread to Santa Clara County. So we're totally good. You'll learn a little bit about that later on. But we do have a live stream audience. So if everyone could do their very best to keep chatter at a minimum and kind of keep aisles open, then we have a clear shot for the camera. And to those of our live audience, everybody turn around. Everybody say hello to our live audience. This is taped, so I do have to make sure that I have PG and G language as well. So to our live audience, thanks. Please let us know through chat if you can't hear us or if there's any technical difficulties. We've got Tanya and or Bridget and Rocky, Penn Media, way to go, they're on the board. They'll make sure that you are able to watch us and hear us really well. Okay, so 2 more housekeepings. 1, Eric, where are you? Photographer. Eric's in the back. If everyone could make sure that we don't crowd the aisles or rush up front. That way he's got great shots of the honorees receiving the awards, and we'll make sure that we share them with you. So on that, welcome on behalf of the Commission of the Status of Women to the 34th Women's Hall of Fame. Isn't that right? And this is the first in-person event since 2019. We all know what happened in the last 3 years, but I have to congratulate the Women's Hall of Fame for never giving up on this event because it was virtual for the last 2 years. So to those honorees that were inducted in 2020 and 2021, way to go. We're here with you in spirit and live on this day. All right, so my first order of business is to introduce Maya Tusing. She is the president of the Commission on the Status of Women. So Maya, you want to come on up?
Thank you, Danny. My name is Maya Tusing, and I'm the president of the Commission on the Status of Women for San Mateo County. I am not as funny as Danny, so bear with me. So on behalf of the Commission, I would like to welcome you to the 34th Women's Hall of Fame. And throughout the history of the United States, women have fought to gain equality by multiple means, and including obtaining the right to vote, stepping into jobs held primarily by men, and demanding our right to equal pay. And while great strides have been made, women still are not fully recognized or compensated for the work they do in the marketplace or in their communities. But here in San Mateo County, we strive to do better. Thank you. Yes. We have certainly come a long way since 1984, when this event was the first of its kind in California, to honor women's achievements as trailblazers in their professions and for their volunteer contributions to our community. In this time of uncertainty, we know we cannot go back to the restrictive past. So it is vital that we continue to come together to recognize that women are key to a successful, equitable, and just community. So before I turn things back over to Danny, let me recognize some important people who contributed to this year's induction. Each year, the field of nominees is truly outstanding, and making the final selection is a formidable task. So a panel of judges from outside San Mateo County reviews the nomination forms without names and chooses the final honorees. Needless to say, it is a difficult task, and we would like to recognize this year's wonderful judges who are from Alameda County, Rebecca Oyama, a lawyer at East Bay Community Law Center, Rose Auguste, a labor policy, racial and health equity professional who works for the city and county of San Francisco, Patty Kim, a congressional staffer who is an advocate on social justice issues for the immigrant community, and Yalitza Pena, a coordinator of student and parent support programs for Hayward Unified School District. So thank you, judges, for your time and effort in choosing this year's winners. I'd like to thank the Board of Supervisors for their continual support and of the Commission of the Status of Women. And a big thank you to the sponsors, vendors, and individual volunteers who went above and beyond to make this event happen. Especially the Women's Hall of Fame work group composed of Anisha Weber, Judah Tomosov, Kelly Keel, Dana Linda, Christine Padilla, and Director Tanya Beat. Thank you all for coming. And now I'd like to bring Danny back to the stage. Thank you.
Did anybody have a tough time figuring out what to wear tonight? Like, I was ready in my yoga pants, and I thought, no, I can't do that anymore, right? But anyway, so bear with me if I have a tough time managing the heels up and down I'm not used to them anymore. But I want to acknowledge that for every honoree, we have proclamations to give you. So hopefully you can have a vacant wall and place them right above your bed or in the living room to ensure that your entire family knows how important and how much that they should honor you. So we have proclamations from Senator Alex Padilla's office. Is any field representative here from Alex Padilla's office? No? All right, and Congresswoman Anna Eshoo. Do we have any field representatives there? Okay. And Congresswoman Jackie Spear, State Senator Josh Becker, and then we have proclamations from Assembly members Kevin Mullen and Mark Berman. Do I have any of the field representatives? I just want to make sure that I say hello to you. Oh, thank you over here. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for the proclamations. I read all of them in just gentle, kind words. Of course, we have our proclamations from the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors. I will not be introducing them right at this moment. I'll be introducing them later. They don't necessarily need two introductions. But I do want to say that Ellen DeGeneres and Oprah Winfrey send their regrets. They couldn't be here. But to all the honorees, they sent you a 65-inch television as your prize. It really didn't go that way, but I was watching Ellen today, and it really inspired me for her Mother's Day show. It was amazing. All right, so now I have the most difficult task of the night, not pronouncing names, because that, I want to tell you, I've spent some time on that. However, it's to introduce our elected officials. For some reason, we introduce elected officials. I think most of you are more important than them, but we did spend the time. I know. Am I going to get in trouble for that? Mike Fertel, I'm introducing you too, so don't laugh too hard. Okay, so I first want to start, although it's alphabetical order, with San Carlos, because we are in her beautiful home. So I've got council member and former mayor, Laura Palmer-Lowen. Thank you, Laura, for allowing us to be in your backyard. Did you bring the wind? Send it away, would you? Okay, so some members that are used to the wind, we have Mark Adiego, council member, South City. Mark. Oh, I forgot to tell you, Tanya gave me strict instructions. Do not applause after every elected official, because if you do, my understanding is we need to buy San Carlos a fire truck. So if you want to pitch in for that, you applause. Otherwise, everybody. Sandy Arnott, treasurer tax collector. Sandy, do you ever look at the little notes I write to you on my check? Like, don't spend it all at once, or, I hope this is going to a good cause. I do, honest to goodness, I write a little note on the memo line when I have to write that. It's terrible. Mike Callaghy, county manager. I see Mike in the back. Don't clap, because you're going to have to buy that truck. Karen Cunningham, city council member, Brisbane. We have Nicole Fernandez. She's a district director I'm sorry, Nicole, we already introduced you. Thank you so much. Eddie Flores, South City. We got lots of good hey, who clapped? South City's buying your fire truck. Okay. Mike Futrell, city manager for South San Francisco. Diane Howard. Diane, are you here? I want to thank council member, former mayor of the city of Redwood City. Diane nominated me back in 2004, so I owe her a great amount of thanks. All right, so I said I'm not going to introduce our county supervisors at this time, because I do have a special recognition and announcement for all of you when you get up here. And then I want to make sure that I've got Kalima Salahuddin, did I say that correctly? Thank you. I'm practicing. And who is with the Jefferson High School District, Jefferson Union High School District, and also a 2018 honoree. So amazing to have you with us. All right, let's go to my last page. I recognize the field representatives, and thank you again. We do know that whether you're a field representative for a supervisor, city council, city manager's office, for our state or federal legislators, you do actually all the work. So thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Okay, so now it's time to meet our 2022 honorees. Are we excited? I am. Okay, so our first honoree tonight is Carole Groom. I don't think she needs any introduction. But Carole will be introduced by her colleague, who's currently the president of the board, of Don Horsley. So while Don's making his way up to the stage, slowly, Don, and Carole as well, I wanted to tell you a little bit about Don in my words. So we all know that Don is Mr. Public Safety, right? He's Mr. Safety Man. Came from a long background in public safety as a chief and a police officer and then sheriff in our town. But I want to tell you, I think Don's greatest accomplishment is his marrying his wife, Elaine, and his 2 children. I agree with her because, as we know, women are the cornerstone of all men in our community, as in their marriage. Little known fact, Mr. Public Safety guy started as a paper boy and a gas station attendant. So he also put on his resume that he's a small business entrepreneur and he knows environmental resources. So it was a bit of a stretch, but I said I'll give it to him. I think paper boys were super important long ago, and I wish somebody would pump my gas. So without further ado, President of the Board of Supervisors, Don Horsley.
Actually, the title was called Petroleum Distribution Engineer. Well, it really is my pleasure to be here this evening. Carole and I have become quite close. Over the last, I guess, about 2.5 years, we have been coming in kind of religiously, and we end up going out to lunch, and we talk about all the other board members. Not true. We actually don't do that. I've known her for more than the 12 years that we've served together. We actually, I knew her before when I was a sheriff. We played golf together, and we never broke any windows or anything like that. We were all pretty good. And when I first got elected to the board, Carole was the board president. And I was, completely new to this thing of being on a board member. And I used to blurt out whatever I was thinking at the time. And then Carole would shush me. And so she trained me, basically. She had to train me. You have to wait until I acknowledge you. So, okay, I'll be good. So I have learned. I've been very good ever since that point. But I do want to say, just, one of the staff, and I know all this stuff that she's done over the past 12 plus years. She's actually been on the board for about almost 14 years. But I just to go through some of the accomplishments that, her staff wrote down, but obviously all of us, or at least all of us on the board, know exactly what she did. One time, there were a lot of people in San Mateo County that didn't have health insurance. So what Carole did is she collaborated with others. I think Margaret Taylor was our health director at the time, and they created a thing called ACE, which is Access and Care for All. So that in San Mateo County, 96% of all the people in our county are covered by health insurance, which was a big advantage in this pandemic. That's because of her leadership. The other thing, you all know that she loves the coast, and she actually has, her license plate even says something about being a coastie, and she was able to get herself appointed because of the fact that I think people knew what a strong leader, collaborative leader she is, and she was appointed to the Coast Commission, which I love because I represent the coast, and all my projects have to go through the Coastal Commission, and so I have sort of, not that she will vote for something because I want it. No, she would never do that, right? No, but she won't. She actually won't, but she'll give us advice on how to deal with the project, how to deal with the staff, and how to make, how to make a project more successful. And I know actually she's going to be gone in the next few days, so I'm going to have to find a new lunch partner. She's going to be, again, because of the Coastal Commission. The other thing she did with Supervisor Pine was the creation of Peninsula Clean Energy. Every single city sits on that, and all of you, if you live in San Mateo County, I should presume that you do, all of you have the option of having a much cleaner source of energy production, and it's because of that Peninsula Clean Energy. And Peninsula Clean Energy actually has some additional funding, and I think they're going to be doing some other kinds of creative things in the county. And I know that Laura Palmer-Lohan has talked about that, of increasing the number of what do they call it, stations for, what are they? Instead of a gas station, you plug it into something. So in any case. The other thing that she did with, again, this is sort of we always think of ourselves, people who deal stuff with, development issues and all the big stuff. But the really important things, the things that really make a difference in people's lives are the arts. And Carole and Warren Slocum created the Poet Laureate for the county, and also the Art Commission. And they've been really incredibly involved in it. And if some of our new buildings now, we're all going to have artwork in the front or inside. And it's all because of her efforts to really bring the arts home to San Mateo County. But I think really the signature event that I think is probably the most enduring legacy for Carole is really the Big Lift. And what the Big Lift was, when actually it's Carole, myself, Adrian Tessier, of course it was also Supervisor Pine, and I forgot who the other person was at the time. We put this thing on the ballot called Measure A, and one of the reasons we did it was to solve a problem up in Daly City with Seton Hospital, but at the same time, Carole had made it really clear we're going to use some of that funds for children, because we knew that something like 40%, only 40% of our third graders were reading at grade level. Carole's determined. She set the goal. We're going to change that. We're going to make sure that 80% of our third graders read at grade level, because we all know that first of all you learn to read, but afterwards you learning how to read, and then you read whatever you read to learn. Danny. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I blame you. You're an easy target. In any case, that I think we put it. It's the Silicon Valley Community Foundation is part of it, but it's really the leadership of Carole and Carole's office, and that's a legacy that is going to continue. Because I just think that we could see the test scores of children going up, and I was in law enforcement, but I also know that if you take care of children, if you help them get through school, if they're successful in school, they won't see people like me or my former job. They won't be they won't end up in criminal justice system. They'll be successful. And so that's the legacy that she's left for San Mateo County that's going to continue and beyond both of us. And I've been proud to serve with her, my friend Carole Groom.
Wow. Who was that person? Thank you very much, Don, for those wonderful, wonderful, kind words. You are a great colleague. We have a lot of fun down there in Redwood City. We get a lot done, and you and your great career in this county leaves a wonderful legacy as well. Former sheriff. So again, thank you very much for those kind words, and thank you to the Commission on the Status of Women for organizing this wonderful event. I want to point out the other three people that I'm joining today, Rowena, Fo, and Eva, all very accomplished and just amazing women in this county. I've also had the great fortune to work along with wonderful colleagues who we enjoy one another. We enjoy the ability to create ideas and make ideas happen so that we hope that we make San Mateo County a better place. And Dave and Don and Warren, I just can't thank you, and David, can't thank you enough for all that you do for this county, and make it easy for all of us to join in and get these wonderful things accomplished. I've had privilege of working with the four of these gentlemen, along with Adrian and Rose before they were termed out. I never expected ever to run for office. It was never in my DNA. And somehow I did. Somehow some people talked me into running for the San Mateo City Council. You get the bug. There was an opening on the Board of Supervisors. I ran for that. But always with the idea that making government good. Good government is what we all want. Good, responsible, respectable government that helps the people who live in our community. And that's what we have all strived to do. It's been my honor to be part of this event, to work side by side with dedicated people, to get things done. And I'm really very honored to be asked to join the Women's Hall of Fame. Very honored, and thank you all for being here, and thank you for everything.
So while Carole and Dawn are having their Oscar moment, right? Isn't Carole just amazing? Here's what I take away. I've known Carole for decades. I think we were both elected to our respective cities around the same time. They were calling it Year of the Women. And we brought in, I think, 30% more women to elected office back in the mid-90s. And we lost some of those seats because women chose not to run again. So we're going to change that, right? But here's my favorite thing about Carole. If you asked her to list her accomplishments, she would never put her name alone on any of the things that she's done. It's always going to be Dawn and I, or Dave and I, or Margaret and I. Carole, you've done it. You deserve this award, and you've inspired all of us to be the best women and to be the best leaders and to be the best collaborators and inspirers that we can be. Carole and I did our first gig together. I don't know if you remember this. American Heart Association, right? They had a fashion show. Of course, all the celebrities had these beautiful gowns and cocktail dresses. Guess what they dressed Carole and I in? Because we're the short ones. These little capri shorts and like these teenage jean jackets, and we had to skip out on the thing because we're the little short ones. Like, where's my gown ball? And I was like, well, if I'm with Carole Groom, I must have made it. But that was our first debut together, is wearing little teeny bopper clothes in some fashion show. But Carole, thank you. Eric, did you get your pictures? All right. So I am now going to be asking Supervisor Dave Pine to join me up here. And as I was reading through Dave's bio, I found something that I didn't know. And I pride myself on being a busybody. I feel like I know everything about everybody at all times. I did not know, and I hope I have this fact straight, because I've been known not to have facts straight. But I read that you were elected, right, to the New Hampshire State House of Representatives at age 19. Is that true? It is true. So here I was elected as mayor of Redwood City in 29 and thought that was a tough gig. This guy couldn't even go party with his, he couldn't even drink with his colleagues. Like at 19, anybody around here 19, like I don't know. That to me is your greatest accomplishment. But if I were to pick one word for Supervisor Dave Pine, I would say Mr. Environment. This guy is climate change. He's got it dialed in. We know he sits on BCDC. We know he's concerned about sea level rise, Peninsula Clean Energy. I asked him to get rid of this wind, but he said, that's what we're doing. We're ruining the environment, and the wind is coming. So we all have to think about tidal restoration as he is doing. And I want you to know that he has a former history in education on school boards, both in Burlingame and San Mateo. Did I get that right? San Mateo Union High School District. Dave and I first met through the chamber when he was general counsel with a tech company in Redwood City. I bought a damn Palm Pilot thanks to this guy, but that went out really quick. But we're so glad, David, that you chose public service. You've been doing it for decades, and we're so proud of you. So Dave Pine will now introduce our next honoree, our young woman of excellence.
Thanks, Danny. I do have to give you a little sense for how New Hampshire is different than California. New Hampshire has a population of about 1 million people compared to 40 million here in California. But we have 400 people in our state legislature. So imagine how many state legislators you would have if that same ratio applied here in California. We'd have tens of thousands. But it was a unique experience, and although I didn't know what I was doing at the time. So it is my honor and privilege to introduce Eva Chen, our Young Woman of Excellence honoree tonight. Eva is a junior at Burlingame High School, and all of you who have high school age kids know that junior year is a time for advanced placements tests, so we're fortunate that Eva was able to carve out some time to join us, given how much is on her plate. Eva was nominated by our San Mateo County Poet Laureate Eileen Castanedo because of her dedication to the creative community. And she already, for a young person, has an incredible list of accomplishments. She's a published author in numerous journals. She won a 2020 Scholastics National Gold Medal Recipient Award. She's a literary magazine co-founder, and now she's the first ever teen poet to be inducted into the Women's Hall of Fame. So Eva's advocacy for poetry and her impact in our county is really inspiring. We love to see young people like Eva in our county doing so much to inspire all of us. So Eva, congratulations on your award this evening.
Thank you so much, Dave. And also thank you for acknowledging AP testing season. I just got out of AP Lang exam, so happy to be here with you guys after 3 hours of just long testing. All right. County members, Commission on the Status of Women, Family and Friends, and people of San Mateo, it is my honor tonight to be here before you as a young woman of excellence. I begin this by talking about what it means to have such an honor. This is certainly an award for an amazing feat. It is an award that calls for a mission. It is an award that culminates what it means to be a woman, resilient, ambitious, and to hold yourself to a stature so impossible, you always move in the direction of progress. It is an award that I did not see myself receiving until tonight. On March 3rd, when I first received this title, the first thing I felt was ecstasy. I was elated that day. For the first 30 minutes after receiving this title, all I could do was spend that time reloading that page again and again, just to feel the euphoria of inflating my ego. However, come the 31st minute, my excitement faded into something darker. I was met with a wave of disillusionment, and on April 7th, during my orientation where I met my fellow honorees, that disillusionment transformed into something even stronger. I want to be honest with you all today. The truth is, before coming here onto the stage, I contemplated and stressed over what I should say. Should I talk about the economic, political state of the world? Or maybe the Middle East conflict would be a better topic? I was in a desperate search to find something to quantify myself as a young woman of excellence, believing that being a woman of excellence meant I had the solution to all things the world would throw at me. And maybe some of these women in this crowd do, because they walk with a force that seem like they do have all the answers. But after all that contemplation, I realized that that isn't me, and that I didn't want to come here tonight and build a false illusion of myself to prove to y'all something that wasn't true. The truth is, I don't have all the answers, and so today I am not here to be political or even controversial. Instead, I am here to be honest, and I am here to bring you all a story, one that begins in the heart of San Francisco. I was born at the end of a Chinatown alleyway, nestled between a fortune cookie shop and a flower boutique. The first years of my life were spent following the sounds of tourism and pipa violins. In a place like Chinatown, you learn to grow with the community. I was not only raised by my parents, but also the bakery down the street and the owners of the local fish market. Every morning, I watched my mother greet 10 random people, and every night, I watched her greet 10 random people more. Chinatown was the first place where I learned how to wield a voice. There's just so much movement, so much heat, so much energy, that even the smallest things, like ordering bread or bargaining food, required that you understood how to yell. Every day, I watched my mother sharpen her tongue in anticipation for a conversation. And under those floating lanterns and telegraph lines, I learned how to grow my own voice too, even if at that time it was just loud and nothing else. I brought that energy into my elementary school years. I became accustomed to the power of words, the weapon of language. And when my parents moved out of Chinatown 5 years after I was born, and into the wider, less diverse part of the city, what was my mother's yell became a whisper, and what was my voice became a survival need. During this part of my life, I lost count of how many work emails I've sent, phone calls I made, and parent-teacher conferences where I was the one talking the most. Now, my parents are wonderful, intelligent people that can hold themselves up to any situation. That much is true, and I swear I'm not being forced to say this. But when confronted with a conversation, they become reduced to foreigners. Their accents and language diminishing themselves to something that other people consider less than me, their daughter who can speak perfect English. English then became something that had betrayed me. I wear my parents' face and culture, but at the pronunciation of the first English letter, the difference in the way we are both treated is wider than the Pacific Ocean. I am a writer. I always have been. My love for words have grown from my lessons learned all those years living in Chinatown, and that love has manifested into a love for writing. But since moving out of Chinatown, it became something more important. It became a mission for myself to devote myself to fighting for my parents and becoming the bridge to translate their needs here in America. To be a poet, a Chinese American, and a daughter, now I understand, is to know the true weight of an English word. It is a weight that has burdened my parents for decades. It is the weight that keeps this country divided under the false pretense of foreigner and citizen. It is the weight that has been weaponized to erase, fight, and protest. However, this is also a weight that has benefited me for the better, and it is a weight that has offered me the privilege of standing on its iron back when my parents were being crushed under that same weight. So my message to you all tonight is to confront yourself about the weight of your word. What mission do your words compel you to take? How can you use the weight of your word to help those who might not have the same platform? Since moving to San Mateo, I have felt infatuated with this county. There is something to love about the high eucalyptus trees and the fading horizon that melts into the ocean. But like San Francisco, this place is a haunted place. It is haunted by the same ghost that has plagued this country for decades. bigotry, and hate. I am not trying to hate on San Mateo. That is not what this is about. Instead, it is because I love this county so much that I feel convicted to heed it in the right direction. We all have an obligation to speak up, to do better, to confront the weight of our words. There are people who do not get the same privilege, and they are the ones who know the true weight of the word because they have been crushed underneath it. We must make it our mission to help them. And so with that, I'd like to end this with a poem I wrote for United Against Hate. It is my own reflection and project on what I'm doing with my own words, and I hope it can inspire some of you to do the same. United Against Hate. America is a country built on the backbones of stars. If the stars are already dead as they are, and their lights are the last echoes of planets now collapsed and shriveled into void, then America is a country built on the foundation of illusions. Because what is color if not just the manipulation of light like the stars? And what is skin if not just something to be eroded and burned, buried and bled? And what is a person if not just a body that bleeds black and blue? All of us, creatures nurtured from one seed planted by God, ocean-born, our skeletons molded from the same atomic clay, molded by rocks taken from Jupiter. We can only believe in division if we are bounded to the illusions of hate. Only believe in borders and segregation, homophobia and violence, sexism and judgment if we choose to latch ourselves onto a false hierarchy of truths. There are still people today, real and blood red, who have fallen under the system, erased from our textbooks, and forced to face a cycle of hate in the shadows of the star-striped, bruised-colored country. We must pledge to unite with them and not against, to speak with them and not for. After we see ourselves beyond these mounted barriers of hate and rewrite our identities into a new form of unity, and stripping ourselves from the skins we've been forced to wear, we recognize that we are all human and real, deserving of love and forgiveness. We are sacred and healing, forever changing and dynamic. The question then will not be why we choose to stand against hate for people, but how. Thank you so much.
Can we all stand right now with Eva and tell her that we join her in her voice to bring empathy, compassion, vision, and love to our San Mateo County. Tanya and I talked about how we have so much work to be done on behalf of women and challenges and issues. We feel like we're climbing that mountain, but I just feel like Eva gave us the top vision of where we need to go. I feel like I'm in great hands. How about you? Yeah. And David Pine, I'm not so impressed with you at 19 anymore. I think we have our new star and perhaps a new assembly member for the state of California. May I be the first to start that campaign? All right, well, I think I'm missing Supervisor David Canepa. No, there he is in the back, thank you. Supervisor Canepa, as I introduce you, because you're coming up to introduce two awardees tonight, but let me tell you a little bit about Supervisor Canepa. I don't know if you knew that I've been sort of pulling out my own version of your bios and kind of giving everybody the Danny Gasparini version of who you are. And so I'd like to also say that David, who is our District 5 elected, is our local guy, born and raised in northern San Mateo County, Pacifica, and now in Daly City with his wife and his son. I think it's fair to say that when you read through the supervisor bios, which, by the way, they're pages of their accomplishments, and I had about 30 seconds to cull them down into snippets and sound bites. So please forgive me. I've left out a million things that Supervisor Canepa has accomplished. But I would give him that one word as being Mr. Transportation. So as he's seated at the, I'm going to get this right, Samtrans board? No, I got that wrong. Samtrans board. He also has been working tirelessly on creating affordable housing, ending homelessness, improving public safety, and creating equity for all. So, Supervisor Canepa, if you would please come up. I know you have the next two awardees. Yep.
Thank you so much. Let me just say, first of all, I'm delighted to be here. It's an exciting night. There is a traditional saying, and we are recognizing two Samoans, and it's a traditional greeting. It's called Talofa. And man, you guys are sleepy. Wow. Let's try it again. Talofa. So first, let me just say this. The first person we're going to recognize is someone who's just near and dear, not only to the Samoan community, but to all communities. As many of you know, we had to go through something that really was just hard for us. We're still going through it. It's through the pandemic. And Liaiga-Anoa'i stood up when we needed her the most, and she mobilized volunteers daily. And there were lines, if you know Daly City, there were lines that went for about a mile and a half of cars. And what she did was, she didn't wait for the county, she didn't wait for the city, she didn't wait for the federal government, although the county did work with Second Harvest to get you that food. But what she did is she organized, and she organized to make sure, whether you lived in South San Francisco, whether you lived in San Mateo, they turned no one away, and making those who were food insecure, secure. And make no mistake about that. On a personal note, let me just say this. Rowena been a friend of mine for about 20 years. She's worked at Jefferson High School. When there were kids who needed help, she's always there. When they have different issues, they needed someone to confide into, Rowena was always there. I'm here tonight because, Rowena, you've been here for everyone. You've done amazing things. Now she sits rather faithfully on our event center board. And that event center board, and I see Supervisor Groom, who served on that board for many, many years, is doing so many transformative things and actually played a critical role during the pandemic. And so with that, it gives me great delight and pleasure to introduce the mayor of North San Mateo County. Now, I don't know, Fo, what I'm going to have to say when you come up next. May take me a while. But to a sister, to a friend, to someone I love dearly, let's give it up for Liaiga-Anoa'i. All right, baby.
Thank you, Supervisor David Canepa. He stole my beginning words, but it's okay. Wow. I'm sure the word that he just said, talofa, this is the first time such a greeting has been used in the Women's Hall of Fame ceremony. It's an honor that such a word can be used in gatherings like this, as it strengthens our diversity and inclusion all in our San Mateo County. The other day I was curious to see all the amazing women who came before me. It was humbling to read through those names, knowing many of those women have tremendous impact, not only in San Mateo County, in the United States and throughout the world. But I did notice something else. I didn't recognize any Polynesians on that list. It is amazing that we have 2 Polynesians being recognized this year. It is my deep privilege to be honored with my dear cousin, Manufou Liaiga-Anoa'i. We may be the first, but we won't be the last. It is a blessing not only to represent women, but to represent Pacific Islands community. San Mateo County has one of the largest concentration of Pacific Islanders. Knowing that, there were not many opportunities that served our community on a daily basis. In 2011, I founded a nonprofit organization called Pacific Islands Together. Most people know us as PIT. We develop programs to promote pride, visibility, and unity within our community. Through these community, we had strengthened our relationships while establishing environments that provide opportunity, growth within our Pacific Islanders community. Most importantly, our organization emphasizes on bringing the community together by delivering support through existing and influential programs and to serve those in need to help in our community. As a woman of faith, a scripture in the Bible inspires me. Feed the hungry and help those in trouble. Then your light will shine through darkness, and the darkness around you will be bright as the noon. I am truly, truly humbled to stand before you all to accept this honor as a member of the 24th Women Hall of Fame. I would like to thank the San Mateo County Supervisors, and the Commission on the Status of Women, whose mission is to improve the quality of life of women of all ages in San Mateo County. I would like to also thank my dear friend, Kalima Salahuddin. In 2018, Women's Hall of Fame honoree for nominating me. I have known Kalima for many years. We worked together in the North County, in the trenches, serving our community. Her advocacy for equitable education and her passion for public education has many students in Jefferson Union High School District succeed. I'm just not saying that. I see it every day as I interact with these students as I work at Jefferson High School. I would like to thank my husband, Sam, and my children that I love with everything, more than anything. They have been by my side through countless hours, days, weeks, and now years. We have served our community. My children are always enthusiastic in their service. Well, maybe because they don't have any choice. Just kidding. But most importantly, though, I would like to thank my parents. My mom that passed away 5 years ago, and my father, who I just recently passed away. Excuse me. My father was a retired Reverend Elder who served 80 years of his life in our religious community. He was the oldest in the Samoan community at the age of 94 years old. He is why, my parents is why, that I seek to be a servant among our community. He is why I stand before you being recognized as an honoree of this Women's Hall of Fame. I know I didn't have a chance to share this with my father before he passed, but I know he's here in spirit, and I know they're looking down and very proud. So this award is to honor my father. Love you for Liaiga-Anoa'i, Yamanuia Oto. Thank you, and God bless.
Wow. Rowena, you and I share a similar background in our parents, new to this country, instilled a community service in all of us, and I'm so proud that your children are carrying on that tradition, whether they have a choice or not. I didn't either. But what a basic thought to leave tonight that Rowena leaves us, and that is we must feed our hungry. And that is just the basic thing that we can do and we can take away from tonight, that when all else is lost, that we must feed our soul and feed our family and feed our community. And thank you so much for that. I'm actually going to invite Supervisor David Canepa to come back up for our next honoree.
Great. Thanks again, Danny. Fo, just want to say Willie Brown is proud of you. I met Fo about 20 years ago. We're working in City Hall, and so can only imagine what he predicted to be true. And so Fo is an incredible person. Let me just say this about Fo. Yesterday, I think she was honored by the state of California. It's been a good week for you. Really good, a real good week for you. State of California. And what Fo has done. What did you do, Supervisor Pine? Horsley? What you doing? I'm sorry, I won't take too much of your time. Supervisor Groom, I know you had nothing to do with it. So the bottom line is with Fo, her service to the community, when we look at Camp Unity, it brings thousands of kids, about 8,000 kids it's served over many years. But what does it do? It talks about and teaches the Polynesian culture. And sometimes what we do is we forget, my father always used to have a saying, to know where you're going, you have to know where you're from. And so when we think about Fo and we think about her commitment to service, she's done a lot. Tony Thurman appointed her to Closing the Gap. She's the vice president of Innovate. And she's taking all these leadership positions, especially around education. And we know when it comes to education here in the state of California, we can do much better than we're currently doing now. And so, Fo, I want to thank you for being a community leader. I want to thank you for being a friend to many people. And I want you to share the story of yesterday, what you did at the state capitol. It took a lot of courage. Not to put you on the spot, but it took a lot of courage. But Fo, I think at the end of the day, when we talk about public service, we talk about doing things right, we talk about really making sure that we put others in front of self. That's what you embody. And so I want to thank you for your service. There's no one who's worthy of this award than yourself. Manufou, can we give it up for Fo?
You heard the Fa'aumu, so you know I'm from a family of entertainers. I just got to breathe this one through. o te tūlai ma le awa tau ai. E momole atu ai sa o whaawhitai whale lawa. Ona wa tau lia le nei tangata whaatau waa. Whaawhitai, whaawhitai, whaawhitai. Tūlona taupa ia ma tau mamalu. Good evening and talofa. My name is Manufou, Liaiga-Anoa'i. And I want to give all praise to God for allowing me to stand before you today. I tried to write down words that were befitting of today's occasion, but I couldn't find them, and they couldn't find me. But my tears found me, because I don't take for granted the opportunity that I had to stand before you. For 10 years, I sat on this commission that has built this work for the past 34 years. I was teased, yes, please applaud, the Commission on the Status of Women. I was teased to be nominated prior to me standing before you today, but I am honored to be able to receive this recognition. I had asked who nominated me because when I received the email from Tanya, I was like, is this real? And I asked who nominated me, and then I couldn't hold my tears. I was told that my youngest son, Hiram Orino, and my sister-in-law out in Los Angeles, Tiffany Smith-Anoa'i, who single-handedly built the Diversity and Equity and Inclusion Department of CBS Entertainment over 20 years ago. So to have someone of that caliber step up and put her stamp of approval on this nomination, although it can be a little biased, but to do it with my son, I was humbled. I asked my son, why did he nominate me? And he said, Mom, you're always making space for others. You're always making sure that others that are unseen and unheard are honored and nominated in these spaces, and you never get to get recognized. But I come from a culture not of being passive, but that is embracing 100% on a daily basis servant leadership. We are about the work, about being in the trenches, and that's what I come from. These past few days have been a culmination of celebration of Asian American, Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander heritage, and I had to find my way in asking myself, how do I fit in? And I saw some people post some of the accolades that I have shared in receiving, but they were not for me. They are for my community. People who are rarely seen and acknowledged in spaces like this. I saw someone post, who is Manufou? And that sat with me. It resonated in my bones, because I had to ask, who is Manufou? Yesterday, I received from state legislator, Asian American Pacific Islander Legislative Caucus honored me on the Senate and the Assembly floor as a Civil Rights Leader of Excellence. I am a daughter of a lay preacher. I am a granddaughter and a granddaughter-in-law of lay preachers. That's what we come from. And my father, on a daily basis, the late Pepine Lafulafu Liaiga Mulitawaupele, you're all going to get tested later. He would sit in the kitchen, turn on the oven, because that was his personal heater, and he would, on a daily basis, read to me Dr. Martin Luther King quotes. And it was always important to him that we understood to do what is right, even when we're doing it alone. And that has been the work that I've been involved in many years. He helped me to know what it felt like to find my voice, to do what is right. even when I'm standing alone. So yesterday, I dedicated that award in his name and in his honor. But tonight, as I answer who is Manufou, I dedicate this to the legacy of my mother. I am named after her. The name is from our village of Sapapali'i in Sava'i, a small dot in the Pacific Ocean. And my mother hails from the Malietoa family. And not to be boastful, but I'm honored. My mother comes from the King of Samoa, and he received Christianity many, many years ago. But her name stems from Se Manu Liaiga-Anoa'i, a new horizon, a new beginning. And every day I get to reset and have a new beginning. And that's what my mother has built. When I was in 3rd grade and I was 9 years old, she took me on the bus with her, with many of my aunties. In particular, my auntie Liaiga-Anoa'i, who was the founder of Samoa. And I got on this bus to serve as a translator. I don't know what I translated. All I knew is that I would get fed at the end of the day. But that day ignited a fire in me that burns and that lives today. My auntie Luma, who I mentioned, she took all of these women, immigrant women, who could not speak English, took them to Sacramento. Jerry Brown was the governor at the time, and she was advocating to make sure that Samoan as an ethnicity would be on every government form. After he said yes, she got on the plane and went to Washington, D.C. to make sure that Carter would do it too. And that's the kind of legacy that I come from. That's the kind of foundation and structure that has been embedded, instilled in me. So when people ask, who is Manufou? I am a servant leader that comes from a kingly family of servants who are invested in our communities and in this work of improving the lives of others. I know what it feels like to be unseen. I know what it feels like to be unheard. And that's why 7 years ago, I ran for a seat on the school board. And at that time, my youngest son was on American Idol, and there was about 7 of us vying for this title, this seat. And I left before they made the decision. Many people were in that room with me that night, and they received the decision without my being present. And as I got to TSA, because he was a minor and I had to be in Los Angeles to ensure that he could stay on the show, I was receiving all of these text messages and calls that I had been appointed to the Jefferson Elementary School Board. That night was filled with Polynesia. That night was filled with other people who could not see themselves in the systems that keep us away from the table, that keep us away from being decision makers. So that win that night was a win for everyone who has never been in those spaces. And I was told that I could use this platform tonight. So I'm not campaigning. I'm just saying. But I am running for a seat on Daly City Council. And if I'm elected this November, I will be the first Pacific Islander to sit on a council seat in the state of California, which to me alone is an injustice. It is time. So as the supervisor shared, and I will end in this, is that when we were being honored yesterday on the assembly floor, we were told that we could not pass the line. And I had asked, where's my family seated? And they were texting that they were sitting right above us, which means they could not see all of the honorees being recognized. So I had 3 people go before me, and everyone abide to the rules, but I'm a rebel. I love getting in good trouble. So I tapped the nice doctor next to me, and I said, I'm just gonna let you know that I'm gonna cross the line. He said, go for it. So mind you, I was being recognized with Ken Jeong, Dr. Ken Jeong, so I don't know if any of you have seen Crazy Rich Asians, or he has a bunch of other shows, Hangover, we won't talk about that, but he was sitting with me, and as they announced my name and I couldn't see my family, and one of the assembly members was holding onto my arm, I said, I'm sorry, my family and my community are watching and they're here. I need to get on the floor. I broke loose and I got onto the floor, and all I could see was legislators looking mortified, like she just broke protocol. I could see the speaker, one of ours, Assemblymember Kevin Mullen, was just like, sorry, Assemblymember Mullen, I didn't mean to misrepresent San Mateo County. But I believe that that's the bold and courageous leadership that got me here today, because I know who I represent, and I don't take it for granted. I do not. And that's what I stand for. I will always fight the good fight. You can always count on me to do that, but I don't need to make noise to do it. I'm just going to keep on moving and pressing forward. So thank you for honoring me, the brown girl from San Francisco that has raised her family in Daly City, that is calling San Mateo County her home. Thank you for honoring my people through me. God bless you. Fafitai Maya Soifua.
Right? I mean, hey, Commission of the Status of Women, to the women that were our readers and our judges, you got it right. We've witnessed tonight 4 amazing individuals, Carole, Eva, Rowena, and Fo. I can't imagine closing out a night with anything more special and anything more inspirational than the words that we've just heard. Sounds like we got a fight on our hand, and we have someone who's going to cross the line. So I don't think the sheriff is here, but we might have a rebel with a cause right in our own midst. I want to say in closing remarks, every one of you in this room, in small ways and in large ways, and in ways you didn't even know, have impacted San Mateo County. Because we do know it does take a village. We know that it takes a lot of cousins and a lot of aunties and a lot of family and a lot of friends and a lot of good neighbors to make this community the best it can be. So it's not just our elected officials or those that sit in really high positions. It's all of us together creating one village. I talked a little bit before about that mountain we have to climb, but I feel like we're climbing it with the 4 of you. I've so inspired tonight. I sometimes look at myself and think of the decades and decades that I've been involved in, think I'm a little bit tired, but I'm telling you, I'm ready to sign up. And I just hope that you'll allow me to be a cousin, because it just sounds like such a fun, wonderful thing to be, and a great place to be. So I'm going to thank Tanya Beat for putting tonight together. That wasn't in my script, but I have to tell you, I'm on the 16th page of script. So Tanya, thank you for keeping us in line. To our Commission on the Status of Women, all of the commissioners, past, present, and to the future commissioners, thank you so much for doing the work that you do. We are a better community for the fact that you're talking, and you have voices, and you are proudly protesting, and you are proudly saying that we have more work to be done. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. To our supervisors here tonight, to everyone that's come together, I wish you a good night. May I please ask the honorees to come up for one last photo? We want to get all of you together. And then please, Eric is here, our photographer. Take advantage of that for your families. And for your friends and for your community. You are the most awesome women I have met to date. Thank you so very much. All right, enjoy the rest of your night.